coming back here again.
20 nannies, 3 months. None lasted more than 48 hours. Tara lasted 48 seconds before those same 2 boys stopped screaming and wrapped their arms around her legs like she was the first safe thing they had ever touched. Their father, a man with cold eyes who made grown men tremble in boardrooms, stared at her like she had broken the laws of physics. "No one calms them down," he whispered. "No one." Tara shrugged. Did anyone ask them what they needed? That question changed everything. It also put a target on her back. If you believe that hardworking mothers deserve a chance, that people shouldn't be ignored just because they are struggling, hit that subscribe button right now and tell us where you're watching from. Now let me start at the beginning. Tara Mensah is a 29-year-old mother who feels like she is running a race she can never quite win. She lives in a small, cramped apartment in Accra with her 7-year-old daughter Nina, trying to build a life from the wreckage left behind years ago. They used to have a chance at a normal life, but everything fell apart when Nina's father walked out on them. He had packed his bags one morning and simply disappeared, unable to handle the responsibility of a family, leaving Tara to carry the weight of the world on her own shoulders. Since then, survival has been a daily battle. To keep a roof over their heads, Tara juggles 2 exhausting and unstable jobs that drain every ounce of her energy. By day, she helps a stern woman sell fabrics in the bustling heat of the market, standing on her feet for hours for very little pay. By night, she works as a cleaner at a busy restaurant in Accra, scrubbing grease off floors until her hands are raw and her back aches. Despite working herself to the bone and skipping meals so Nina can eat properly, the money is never enough to keep up with the rising prices. The breaking point arrived when her landlord slid a cold, red ink note under her door that read, "Final warning, pay in 2 weeks or get out." The threat of eviction hung over her like a dark cloud, and the terrifying thought of sleeping on the streets with her little girl pushed her to take a desperate chance. Late that night, with eyes burning from fatigue, she applied for a mysterious, high-paying nanny job she found online, having no idea what she was walking into. She didn't know the job was at the private residence of Adrian Cole, a tech billionaire known as the Ice King for his cold corporate reputation. She didn't know that 20 nannies had quit in the last 3 months, or that no one had lasted more than 48 hours. She just knew she had to save her daughter. When Tara arrived at the breathtaking mansion in the private estate, she quickly realized why the salary was so high. Mrs. Bawa, the weary house manager, led her into the living room, but they were greeted by the sound of shattering glass and wild screaming. Adrian's 6-year-old twins, Eli and Ezra, were tearing through the house like a hurricane. Eli was hurling cushions at a priceless television, while Ezra kicked the furniture and screamed, their faces red with frustration. Mrs. Bawa turned to Tara with a look of hopelessness and warned her, "These boys, they don't need discipline. They need something else, but we just don't know what it is." Tara watched the chaos, but she didn't see bad children who needed punishment. She saw 2 little boys who were drowning in big emotions they couldn't understand. Instead of shouting or trying to overpower them like the previous nannies, Tara did something unexpected. She walked calmly into the middle of the storm and knelt down on the floor so she was looking them right in the eye. "Eli, Ezra," she called out softly, her voice steady and calm. The boys paused, confused by her gentleness. Tara looked at them with genuine kindness and asked the one question no adult had ever asked them before. "What do you need right now?" The effect was instant. The twins froze, staring at her in shock because they were used to being yelled at, not listened to. The anger seemed to drain out of them, replaced by a desperate need for comfort. Without saying a word, they ran to her and buried their faces in her shoulder, clinging to her clothes as if she were the only safe harbor in their stormy world. That evening, the heavy front door swung open and Adrian Cole stepped inside, bracing himself for the usual wall of noise. He was a commanding figure, a tall, handsome man with deep mahogany skin that seemed to absorb the light of the hallway, and broad shoulders that carried the weight of a billion-dollar empire. Confused, Adrian walked slowly toward the living room, his footsteps echoing on the marble floor. What he saw made him stop dead in his tracks. Tara was sitting cross-legged on the rug, and right beside her, Eli and Ezra were quietly coloring in sketchbooks. There was no screaming, no throwing, just the soft sound of crayons on paper. Adrian stood there for a long moment, completely speechless, unable to process the peace in a home that had been a war zone for 2 years. Over the next few days, Tara began to uncover the heartbreaking truth hidden beneath the boys' bad behavior. She learned that 2 years ago, Adrian's wife had passed away suddenly from a medical complication, leaving a hole in the family that no amount of money could fill. Since then, Adrian had buried himself in his work to escape the pain, leaving the twins feeling abandoned and alone. Tara realized that their tantrums weren't because they were naughty. They were screaming because they were grieving and didn't know how to say it. Tara decided that this house didn't need a strict boss. It needed a mother's touch. She created gentle routines for the boys, and instead of punishing them when they got overwhelmed, she sat with them through their emotional storms until they felt safe again. To help them learn how to play gently, Tara brought Nina to the mansion after school. Nina, with her calm and sweet nature, quickly became the big sister the twins never had, teaching them how to share and filling the empty hallways with the sound of children laughing together. The real breakthrough happened on a Tuesday afternoon. Eli was running through the hallway when his elbow accidentally knocked over a small table. A silver frame crashed to the floor, shattering the glass instantly. It was the only picture of their late mother in the room. Eli froze, his face draining of color. He began to shake violently, terrified that he was about to be punished for destroying something so precious. He looked at Tara, waiting for the anger, waiting for the yelling. But Tara didn't yell. She dropped to her knees, ignoring the broken glass, and pulled the trembling boy into her arms. "It's okay, Eli," she whispered, stroking his hair. "It's just glass. Mommy is still here in your heart." Hearing those words broke the dam inside him. Eli buried his face in her neck and began to sob, a deep, heartbreaking cry that he had been holding in for years. Ezra ran over and joined them, and for the first time since their mother died, the twins didn't scream in anger. They cried in sadness, finally letting their grief out in the safety of Tara's arms. Just as the mansion was finally beginning to feel like a warm, happy home, the cold reality of the outside world crashed in to destroy it. The trouble started in the glass towers of the city, where the board members of Adrian's company began to whisper. They were angry that the Ice King was spending his afternoons at home instead of in the boardroom, and they accused him of letting the company suffer for domestic distractions. But the real danger didn't come from the office. It came from the cameras. One afternoon, a paparazzi photographer hiding in the bushes snapped a picture of Tara, Nina, and the twins laughing together at a park. By the next morning, that photo was on every news site and social media page in the country. The headlines were cruel and ugly, calling Tara a gold digger and accusing her of manipulating a grieving billionaire to get his money. Tara read the lies on her phone, and she felt a sick feeling in her stomach. She wasn't scared for herself, but she was terrified that these rumors would destroy Adrian's reputation, and worse, that the cameras would start following her daughter. She realized she had to make a heartbreaking choice to protect the people she had come to love. With tears streaming down her face, she went to her room and began to pack her bags. She walked into the playroom to say the hardest goodbye of her life, hoping to slip away quietly. But the twins saw the suitcase. The reaction was immediate and devastating. Eli and Ezra didn't just cry, they panicked. They grabbed onto her legs and her dress, burying their faces in the fabric as if they could physically stop her from leaving. "No! You can't go!" Ezra screamed, his voice raw with fear. "Please don't leave us," Eli begged, looking up at her with terrified eyes. "Please don't leave us like Mommy did." Adrian had just walked into the room to check on them, and those words hit him like a physical blow. He froze in the doorway, his heart shattering as he watched his sons begging the only mother figure they had left not to abandon them. He realized in that split second that he couldn't let her go, that they were a family now. But before he could say a word, the lights in the mansion flickered and died, plunging the room into darkness. The sharp, loud blare of emergency alarms cut through the air. Beep, beep, beep. Adrian's phone buzzed violently in his pocket. It was his head of security shouting over the noise. "Sir, we have a breach. Saboteurs from the rival firm are inside the gates." Chaos erupted instantly. Downstairs, glass shattered and heavy footsteps pounded on the stairs. A desperate rival, trying to ruin Adrian by attacking his home, had sent men to cause panic. The boys screamed in pure terror, clinging to Tara's waist. "Get behind me!" Adrian shouted, his voice changing from a father's gentle tone to a protector's command. He moved toward the door to stop the intruders, but the danger was already there. The playroom door was kicked open, and a man in dark clothing lunged into the room, looking for anything he could use as leverage against the billionaire. He moved toward the screaming children. Adrian was too far away to reach them in time, but Tara was right there. Without a second of hesitation, she threw herself over Eli, Ezra, and Nina. She curled her body around them on the floor, using her own back as a human shield to cover them. She squeezed her eyes shut and held them tight, willing to take any hit, any pain, just to keep them safe. The room was silent for a terrifying second. Then the heavy doors burst open again, but this time it wasn't an enemy. "Clear, the room is clear," a loud voice shouted. It was Adrian's head of security. Behind him, a team of guards swarmed into the room. They grabbed the man in the mask and pulled him away. The danger was gone as quickly as it had arrived. The lights flickered and buzzed back to life. Tara slowly uncurled her body. Her arms were shaking. Her breath was coming in short, fast gasps. She looked down. Beneath her, Eli, Ezra, and Nina were safe. Not a scratch on them. She looked up and saw Adrian. He was standing over them. His shirt was torn at the sleeve. His face was pale, like he had seen a ghost. He looked at the man being dragged away in handcuffs, and then he looked at Tara. He saw the way she was still holding his sons. He saw that she had used her own body to stop a metal baton. He saw a woman who was willing to bleed for children that were not hers. He dropped to his knees. He didn't care about the guards watching. He didn't care about his dignity. He reached out and touched Tara's shoulder, as if checking she was real. "You saved them," he whispered. His voice cracked. "You? You saved them." Tara nodded weakly. "I promised," she said softly. "I promised I wouldn't leave them." That night, the mansion was quiet again, but it was a different kind of quiet. It wasn't the silence of an empty house. It was the silence of safety. Adrian found Tara in the kitchen. She was drinking a glass of water, her hand still trembling slightly. Nina was asleep in the guest room, exhausted from the excitement. Adrian walked in. He looked different. The Ice King mask was gone. He just looked like a father who had almost lost everything. "The police have taken them," Adrian said quietly. "The board members involved in the sabotage will be arrested. The company is safe." Tara nodded. She turned to pick up her suitcase, which was still standing by the door. "I should go," she said, her voice sad. "Now that it is safe, I should take Nina home before the cameras come back." "No." The word was sharp, immediate. Adrian stepped forward. "Please, do not touch that bag." Tara looked at him, confused. "But the rumors, the scandal, they called me a gold digger. I am hurting your reputation." "I don't care about the reputation." Adrian's voice rose, filled with emotion. "Let them talk. Let them say whatever they want. I can buy the newspapers. I can sue the photographers. I can build a wall around this house so high that no camera ever sees you again." He took a deep breath. He looked her right in the eyes. "I cannot raise them without you, Tara." He pointed toward the stairs where the twins were sleeping. "For 2 years, my house was a grave. My sons were ghosts. They screamed because they were in pain, and I didn't know how to fix it. I was drowning in my own grief." He took a step closer. "You didn't just clean my house. You didn't just watch my kids. You brought them back to life. You brought me back to life." Tara felt tears prick her eyes. "Adrian, I am offering you a new contract," he said firmly, "but not as a nanny. I want you to stay here, permanently. You and Nina." He paused. "I will give you a salary triple what we discussed. I will set up a trust fund for Nina's education. I will have bodyguards for her school. You will never have to worry about rent or eviction or hungry nights ever again." "But why?" Tara whispered. "Why would you do all that?" "Because you are not staff," Adrian said. "You are family, and I protect my family." Before Tara could answer, she felt a tug on her shirt. She looked down. Eli and Ezra were standing there in their pajamas. They were rubbing their sleepy eyes. They had woken up and realized Tara wasn't in the room. They didn't look at their father. They looked at her. "Are you leaving?" Ezra asked, his voice shaking. Tara looked at their hopeful, scared faces. She looked at Adrian, waiting for her answer. She thought about the cold apartment in Accra. She thought about the lonely nights. Then she looked at the warmth in this room. She realized that Nina needed this too. Nina needed brothers. Nina needed a home where she was safe. Tara dropped to her knees one last time. She opened her arms. No, she smiled, and tears of happiness finally fell. I am not going anywhere. The twins shouted with joy and crashed into her. Adrian smiled, a real, true smile that reached his eyes. The story ends on a Sunday evening. The dining room table is set. It used to be a long, empty table where Adrian ate alone while checking his emails. Now it is full. There is noise. There is laughter. Nina is telling a funny story about school. Ezra is trying to steal a piece of chicken from Eli's plate. Adrian is laughing, actually laughing, as he passes the rice to Tara. They are not perfect. They have scars. They have a past that hurts. But as they sit there sharing a meal in the warm light of the chandelier, they know one thing for sure. They are safe, they are loved, and they are together. If you believe that every child deserves a home where they are loved and that family is more than just blood, subscribe to Tales by Jean right now. Please remember to like this video and comment "Family First" if you enjoyed this story. I'll see you in our next video.